Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of our Anatomy Basics series. Today I'm covering briefly the 11 organ systems and their relationship to the 5-element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. So we have 11 organ systems in our human body. They're all interrelated, interconnected. The first one is the integumentary system, which is the hair, nails, and oil glands and sweat glands. We have our skeletal systems, our bones and joints. We have our nervous system, which is our brain, the brain stem, and the peripheral nerves. Endocrine system with glands that secrete hormones. We have our lymphatic system, which are our lymph nodes and lymphoid tissue involved in nutrient absorption, and it's also involved in immunity and fluid return. We have our cardiovascular system, the body system made up of the heart and blood vessels, arteries and veins and capillaries. Our respiratory system, which are our lungs and air passageways involved in exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Urinary system, which is involved in elimination of fluid wastes and regulation of water and electrolyte balance. We have our reproductive system, which is the body system composed of the gonads and accessory organs responsible for male and female sexual characteristics and reproductive processes. We have our digestive system, which is the system that ingests food, converts it to a form the body can use, and absorbs the nutrients into circulation and eliminates solid wastes. As I go into the 5-element theory, you will see that each of the 5 elements is attributed specific organs and also specific body tissues. So I will focus only on those tissues that directly correspond in the simplest way that I can explain it to that particular element. So we have the wood element. Wood element generates the fire element. Fire element generates the earth element. Earth element generates the metal element. Metal element generates the water element. And then water element generates the wood element. So it's a whole cycle of progression. Now, each of these elements, and I spoke about elements individually in my 5-element videos, so check those out over here. However, here I'm just going over the basics of 5 elements together, not individually and in depth for each of the organs. So wood element is attributed the organs of liver and gallbladder. Fire element is in charge of our heart and pericardium. Think of the pericardium as the protector of the heart. In Chinese medicine, we say the heart is the emperor. No one touches the heart. So the pericardium is the protector of the heart. And we also have the small intestine as attributed to the fire element, as well as this illusory organ, which is not an organ in itself. It's called sanjiao, or the triple heater, which is really an energetic component. 3 separate areas of the body that encompass all of the organs in those areas of the body. We go to the earth element, which is attributed the spleen and the stomach. So you're thinking more digestive system in Eastern medicine. We are looking at the metal element, attributed the lungs and the large intestine organs. And we have the water element, which is associated with our kidneys and urinary bladder organs. Now, each of these elements, like I said at the beginning, also have specific body tissues that are attributed to it. And if we go back to our integumentary system, that is the skin, The skin is associated with the metal element. So we are releasing the impurities through our skin. We also have emotions that are associated with each of the elements. And when we have specific emotions that are a bit out of balance, because emotions in on it themselves are not good or bad, but when they're out of balance, they could also cause imbalances within those organs and organ systems that are associated with them. And of course, five elements are interrelated, so it's not just in this generating cycle, wood generating fire, fire generating earth, and so on, but it can also be that the relationships among them can be disrupted, right? There could be something wrong in the relationship, not just between the closest elements like the wood and the fire, but also wood and earth. Wood can overact on earth, or earth can overact on water, etc. So looking at the skeletal system and bones, bones are associated with the water element. So metal, skin, water, bones. Wood element is associated with ligaments and tendons. So this can be our musculoskeletal system, because the skeletal system also covers joints, and joints are basically where bones attach to bones, and bones attach to bones via ligaments. So the shoulder is composed of the upper arm as well as the shoulder blade, and this upper arm sits in the shoulder blade socket, which is called the glenoid fossa. And as we go through the series of videos, I will talk about individual joints more in depth. But basically, so musculoskeletal system, tendons and ligaments would be more associated with the wood element. Joints are associated with our water element, because that's the skeletal system. When we're talking about the earth element is associated with the muscles, so muscular system. And our fire element is associated with the blood vessels, so cardiovascular system. When we talk about emotions that are associated with each of these elements, liver and gallbladder and the wood element are associated with the emotion of anger. So a little bit of anger is no big deal. It actually gets us going. Too much anger can cause a disruption within the flow of the chi and blood within the wood element system. So sometimes certain issues that are associated with this wood element or liver gallbladder imbalance could be menstrual issues, things like cramps, right, PMS, moodiness, anger, irritability right before a period cycle begins. Fire element is associated with joy, but too much joy can turn into mania, where people are laughing uncontrollably in situations that should not be laughed at. And that can cause an issue with the heart, right? Sometimes if there's too much of that joy and mania, it can also cause increased heart rate or high blood pressure. And if we're looking at the earth element, and the association of the emotion is worry. Think of a mother, right? Earthy person that loves to take care of everyone, but worries constantly. And so this can injure also the muscles. Someone that is carrying the weight on their shoulders are constantly tight because they're just over worrying. They're too pensive in their life. overthinking about everything. Oh, when are they coming home? What happened now? Even if their children are all grown up. So that is the typical presentation of the earth. The metal element, the emotion is sadness or grief. Now, of course, it's normal to have a little bit of sadness in our life, especially if you're watching a movie that's sad, so it's inspiring that emotion, or if someone passed away. But then if the emotion of sadness has lodged too deep in the body, hasn't been resolved, and it turns into this grief that is just not ending, people can injure their lungs. They could have respiratory issues. They could catch colds easier. Now, I'm not saying that every emotional affect is causing disruption within the organ systems, but there are strong relationships between those. The emotion for the kidneys and urinary bladder and the water element is fear. So if someone is constantly in fear of doing something, or maybe they have a little bit of fear of moving forward in the world, right? A little bit of fear is okay, but when that becomes a pathological fear, like not having a backbone to stick up for yourself, right? Backbone is our back, our spine, and our back spine is associated with the kidneys and the water element. So think of someone experiencing back pain, just feeling that tension in the low back area. And if you ask them what is going on, they might tell you that they have certain fears or even phobias, right? Now, phobias would not be an okay type of emotion. It wouldn't be a balanced emotion. Everything in balance is okay. A little bit of joy, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of anger, a little bit of worry. That is all fine. But when these emotions go overboard, or if we have too little of these emotions, maybe someone who never experiences sadness or never cries, that also can tell you about the imbalance within that organ system, which in this case, talking about sadness or lack thereof, is a imbalance in the metal element and the lungs and the large intestine. So with the lungs and the large intestine, they are strongly related to the skin and also the elimination of our waste through bowel movements. So when someone can't let go, for instance, when they're just holding on to an emotion from the past too much, they might also have issues with their bowel movements, like constipation, chronic constipation. So those are some of the relationships between the organ systems and the five element theory. Of course, it goes more extensive than that, but this is just the basics, the overview. Now we can get into the endocrine system, we can get into the nervous system. The brain is also associated with the kidney energy, but that is a little bit more complex, and we'll have to layer the knowledge further in order to understand those concepts. But again, just to recap, right, we have the liver and gallbladder associated with wood element, heart, pericardium, small intestine, sanjiao or triple warmer, triple heater associated with the fire, earth element, spleen and stomach, metal, lungs, large intestines, and water, kidneys and urinary bladder. And then based on the 11 organ systems in Western way of looking at the body, the skin would be associated with the metal, bones, joints would be associated with the kidneys, ligaments, tendons would be associated with the liver, gallbladder, wood element, blood vessels with fire, and muscles with the earth element. I hope you enjoyed this episode 2 of our anatomy basics. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. Please subscribe and share these videos with the people you think might enjoy this. And until next time, have a wonderful week.